Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we are delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. You know, we would love to hear from you, so send your comments and your questions to Jim and Joy at EWTN.com. Well, today our guest is Joey Pontarelli. Now, Joey Pontarelli is the founder of Restored Ministry, which helps teens and young adults find healing following their parents' divorce and to avoid sinful and destructive behavior so that they can live healthy, holy lives. A child of divorce himself, he is the author of a great book, It's Not Your Fault. It's a practical guide to navigating the pain and the problems from parents' divorce. And this beautiful book is available at EWTNRC.com. Now, we certainly have dealt with this topic before, but never for teens and young adults.
13 through 35, I think he said.
Yeah. And we've dealt with grown children, right, who have experienced a divorce in childhood and then really talking about what happened to them in primal loss. And then we've had another ministry on that helps with that. But this is, they're going through it, they're teens. They have a voice, they have a heart. They have something that they need to share and they need to tell. And so Joey does a great job in helping us all as a family of God navigate those waters.
I pray the show today will be such a great blessing to everyone. Those who have divorced, those who have had their marriage annulled, those who are separated, that they would understand better the impact on young people, 13 through 30 or whatever the age is that he's doing, and to understand them, and that people in that age range would be given, they have a voice, but they have no voice in another sense, and Joey really gives them a voice. And says, look, this is what can happen from these separated divorce relationships in terms of repeating the cycle that you just came out of. And how do we break that cycle? How do we set people free? How do they understand what's taking place and choose the way of virtue and choose the way of true dedication and commitment in the way of marriage? So a very important show today, great information today, and we pray that it will be a great source of healing to many, many people. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and today our guest is Joey Pontarelli. He is the founder of Restored Ministry, which helps teens and young adults find healing following their parents' divorce and to avoid sinful and destructive behavior so that they can live healthy, holy lives. And he's the author of a great book. If you find yourself in this situation or you know a family member that's there, the name of the book is called It's Not Your Fault. It's a practical guide to navigating the pain and the problem from your parents' divorce. And this beautiful book is available at EWTNRC.com. Well, so you're not Irish with that great Italian name. So Joey, tell our family a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get on with our questions and about this beautiful Restored Ministry.
Yeah, no, first off, honored to be here with you both, and I applaud you and admire you both for tackling this topic. Not too much to say about me. I'm Italian, I'm Catholic, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I have a daughter who's 2 years old at the moment, one in heaven as well, and we want to have many more kids. But I love my faith, I want to become a saint, and I love ministry, and I love business too, and so we're trying to use the best practices from the business world in order to serve young people from broken families.
Thank God for you, for your life, for your ministry. You're exactly what we need at this time, for the renewal of the church and to help bring awakening to our country and to this world.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm a rusty instrument, but God's put me to use.
Well, we're all cracked pots, aren't we?
Yeah.
And God is just, and that's where the light shines, is through our brokenness, right?
It's true.
So all of us come in this world with conditions and complications. And so in your book where you wrote, it's not your fault, you're a child of divorce.
Yep.
And so tell our family a little bit about the book and how we got here.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's okay, I'll backtrack a little bit and say that I believe this problem that we're talking about of brokenness within our families, especially the trauma that young people carry with them, is, in my opinion, the biggest undiagnosed problem in our culture today. It's never talked about. And so to prove that point, there's a young woman who reached out to me not long ago. I call her Mary. She said that when she was a little girl, she would watch her parents fight all the time. Their marriage was a mess. And they needed help, but they never did much to fix or heal their marriage. And so the dysfunction just continued on for years. Fast forward to when Mary was in high school, her mom approached her and she said, I want to divorce your dad. She didn't really know what to say to that, so she told her, I just want the fighting to stop. So her mom goes through with the divorce, and what honestly seemed like a solution to a really bad, messy situation just made things worse for Mary. It was just one trauma on top of another, just adding more pain into her life. And she told me that up to that point, she didn't really act out. She held that pain inside, but that all changed when she went to college. She got into the party scene, she started drinking heavily. That led to dating the wrong guys. She ended up marrying one of those guys who was a drug addict and alcoholic. Their marriage was obviously a mess as well. Before long, they get pregnant, and because she was terrified that her baby would grow up in that hell, she got an abortion, which obviously brought a ton more pain into her life. Following that, she divorced her husband, repeating that cycle, which is super common. It's, some studies say you're 2 to 3 times more likely to get divorced if you come from a divorced family. And after the dust settled from that, she fell into a deep depression and still deals with some emotional issues to this day.
Yeah.
Whenever I think of her, whenever I think of Mary, I can't help but think, what if? What if someone was there to help her? What if someone was there to get her professional help, to just teach her how to deal with her pain in healthy ways instead of unhealthy ways, how to build healthy relationships? I'm super convinced, I know she would agree with me, that if she had that help, her life would not have turned into the tragedy that it became. And so that's the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to help people like Mary, and there's millions of them out there, to avoid repeating that cycle of dysfunction and divorce in their own lives.
Where does that voice come from? The voice to say restored ministry is here. Does it come from the church? Does it come from the world? Because the world is just saying, oh, it's okay. It's a no fault. It was nobody's problem. Everybody just wants to be happy. And so what if they did get married in the church? And usually then they fall away from the church because it's like, church didn't fix this.
Right.
The church didn't fix the problem. We didn't address the problem. So where does the voice come from, restored ministry, into the brokenness of all these young men and women?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We're trying to lead them to Jesus. We're trying to help them become saints, in short. And the way that we do that is trying to help them to heal from their trauma and build virtue. And we partner with experts like our mutual friend, Dr. Bob Schutz. Jason Everett is a partner in our ministry as well. Archbishop Aquila from the Denver Archdiocese has endorsed us as well. And so we try to speak into their pain using, Catholic principles, trying to help them, again, to build virtue, to deepen their interior life, their prayer lives, to heal from all that trauma. But in terms of the voice, I mean, honestly, there's not many people talking about it, like we were saying before. There's this great, some people call it a wound of silence, but there's this silence around this topic. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. Perhaps we can go a little deeper later. But basically, often that, like during a divorce, after a divorce, the attention isn't so much on the kids, it's on the parents. Because they're more often than not at war with each other, and the kids kind of get forgotten, and they're neglected, and they deserve better. And again, it's not because parents are malicious. I've never met a parent who wanted to hurt their kid by getting divorced. It's just that the kids are not thought of often, and there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to divorce as well. Parents like to think that if I'll be happier, leaving this marriage, going on with someone else, then my kid will be happier too. The research doesn't say that, and I know we're going to get into that later as well.
Well, the story that you just told about this young person, there's so much in it, not only the harmful thing of reenacting the situation, the need to break the cycle of that, but the conversation between the mother and the child, that she goes to her and says, I'm going to ask your father for a divorce or whatever she said there. And the girl says, I just want this to stop. and the mother just wants it to stop. So we're all in agreement now.
Yeah.
Now, the child shouldn't be really placed in that place,
Right.
but she signed off on it as far as the mother was concerned. Like you just said, yeah, we all want it to stop, right? So this will be better for me, be better for you.
Yeah.
You didn't say that, but
Yeah.
this is often the pattern, that we hear, is that this is just better for everybody. This will stop then, and we can all get on with our lives. So that's with that girl.
Yeah.
And then that she goes on to the same kind of relationship and then winds up aborting the child. And there's like, maybe an abortion of this marriage.
Yeah.
We're terminating it. And she justifies the abortion. The parents are justifying what's happening there. We're just so out of,
So much
you hear the volume of what we're
brokenness.
saying.
Yeah,
And
so much
it's just all this stuff is in there. What are some of the things that you see, with children or young people in divorce? What's the pattern? What are their struggles?
Yeah.
Because I can see here, maybe she feels guilty about that, or she signed off on that.
Sure.
What are some of the key issues for the young people?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So what the research has found, and the main researcher on this, by the way, was a woman by the name of Dr. Judith Wallerstein. She studied children of divorce for 25 years was her research. She spent even more time with them than that. But that's the longest study that we have to date. And what she did is she studied 131 children from 60 families. And what she did is she only picked children who came from families where there weren't any developmental or emotional problems with those children. And then she observed the impact that the divorce had on them and compared them to their peers who came from intact families. By the way, going into the research, she expected to find that the divorce would have a minimal impact, if any at all.
Right.
And if there was an impact, it would be short-lived, it would be temporary. But after years of researching it, she said something like this. She said, our findings challenge the myth that divorce is a transient crisis, and that as soon as parents reestablish their lives, that children will recover fully. She said that just doesn't happen. Yeah. And in her research, she found, to answer your question, she found that children of divorce are less likely to get married. They're more likely to get divorced. They're less likely to have children. They're more likely to, have social problems, behavioral problems, emotional problems. They're more likely to attempt suicide. This whole host of really depressing issues come along with it. And so 2 main takeaways from her research. She said the full effects from your parents' divorce actually aren't experienced until adulthood. She's called it the sleeper effect. It doesn't mean you're not affected beforehand. It just means around college age and beyond, you're going to see more effects come out. And she said also the biggest area of your life that's impacted by your parents' divorce is your relationships, especially your future marriage. Why is that? It's pretty simple. Our parents model love and marriage for us. We literally learn how to love, how to build a relationship, how to build a marriage from our parents. And if we saw a broken model of that, we take that with us on a subconscious level. It's literally programmed into us. And unless we rewrite that programming with it, which is totally possible, we're going to end up repeating that same cycle.
Well, what you shared really helps me to understand why this is not spoken about. Because we want to believe, the parents as well as others, that this is transient, right? It's short-lived.
It's short-lived.
And so this is going to be okay. So we don't want to talk about it because it's not the fact, because it's painful. And like you said, parents don't have children to say, I really want to mess up your life.
Right.
They don't want that, so it's easier just to say, hey, we will all be in a better place because of this. So why talk? Same thing. She has the abortion, the girl, and the big teaching of people that are pro-abortion is that it's just transit. After you have the abortion, everything will be fine. Everything will be okay.
Makes your life
very
better.
similar. in
Right,
that.
right. It's going to make everything better.
Yeah.
Tell our family, how big is this problem in the church and out of the church? How big is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. The U.S. Census says that every year there's over 1 million American children who go through their parents' divorce. 1 million. It's hard to even make sense of that number. They define child, by the way, as anyone 17 and younger. And that means right now there's tens of millions of people who come from broken families, divorced families. And if you were to take, let's just say the 90s alone, if you were to take all the kids in the 90s alone who went through their parents' divorce, and you put them in a city, it would be bigger than the size of New York City. It's just a massive, massive problem. And for some reason, like you're saying, no one's talking about it. And to any parents watching who are divorced, I just want to speak to that for a moment, because it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear that research that I shared. It's hard to hear that, all these negative effects can come from your decision. And I just want to hit a tone of compassion and empathy of like, we don't know your situation. We're not here to condemn you or judge you or demonize you in any way. but just say that we want the same thing that you want for your children, for them to be happy, to be healthy, to be holy, to thrive in life. But in order to do that, we have to go to where they are right now. We have to get into their lives, address the problems they're facing, get into their experience, and speak about these uncomfortable truths. Because if we don't, they're never going to heal and move on in life. And so we need to talk about this problem, even though it is difficult to talk
every
about.
one of these parents would say, are you telling me I don't love my kid? I do love my kid. You don't
Yeah.
know the nuanced situation. But you know what?
Yeah.
If you really do, you may want to read the book.
Yeah.
Because you're going to say, I do love, and I do want to understand. Maybe I'm so caught up in what was happening with me at the time. You know, honey, son, I just want to hear what you got to say. Or I understand better because of this now.
Yeah.
So the book is not only for the 18 through 35 or however, what, 18, 35?
Yeah, 13 to 35 or 18.
But you know,
yeah.
I mean, parents can learn a lot that have separated or divorced or had an annulment, and just saying, it's still, you know, it takes the nest of the little chick in the nest and just tears it, it tears it apart.
Yeah.
That's not your intention, but that's what it feels like to me, you know.
Yeah. And I would say, again, I've never met a parent who wanted to harm, their children. I'm sure they're out there, but they're so rare, right? Yeah. They never wanted to harm their children through this divorce. And so I think if parents really knew the research, they heard the stories that I hear all the time from hundreds, if not thousands of young people, they would never go down this route, except, as the church says, in those situations where it becomes a necessity to protect the spouse or the children because there's abuse, there's violence, there's a threat of death. There are situations where divorce can be used as a legal maneuver to protect the spouse and the children, but we're not talking about situations where you just want to quit and give up and run off with someone else. We're talking about dangerous situations, and researchers say about 30% of divorces represent those high conflict situations where there's, again, abuse, violence, threat of death, a lot of overt big problems within the marriage, within the divorce. And so over 70% are situations that are called low conflict, where there are problems there, but they're more covert. And so in those situations, the parents could stay married or at least work towards healing the marriage. But for one reason or another, especially in our culture, we just prescribe divorce as one of the first problems within marriage. It's like going to the doctor. If I went to the doctor with a swollen arm, and it was red, painful, he comes to the door, barely even examines me and says, we're going to have to amputate it. I'd probably get a second opinion. I'd probably think, can we get an x-ray? Can we do a CAT scan? Can we, surgery even, medicine, anything? So often in our world, and even in the church, we're prescribing divorce as one of the first solutions to problems within marriage. Spouses, families, children deserve better than that. There are ways to heal the marriage. It's not an easy, short road. Not at all. It's painful and difficult. But again, spouses, parents, children deserve better.
Well, your website is beautiful, and it's called restoredministry.com.
That's right.
And it's so beautiful, and it's helpful. So if you're out there and you're a family member and you're thinking, I have a niece or a nephew, I know my brother or sister went through this, and they're at this critical time. Go there, go to the website, get some tools, get some equipment, get some ways you could say maybe to your brother or sister, I think this is going to help my niece or my nephew or a relative or a family member, a son or a daughter. And I think, how do we fix it? I mean, I know we're going to talk about how we're going to fix it, but sometimes even the people who are products of divorce and then they repeat the same cycle, they may even be children of divorce. And it goes not just one generation, 2 generations, 3 generations. This goes on and on, where we have to say as a culture, this isn't good. We are all broken and we need to be healed. And to crave and desire to say, I don't want this for anybody, because what's happening, people don't want to commit. They don't want to take a chance because they're so broken. It's like, it's not going to work, so I'm not even going to try it. Isn't that a reaction?
It's such a reality, right? And that's, I think, what we're seeing in my generation, millennials and Gen Z. We're giving up on love. We're giving up on marriage. We're giving up on commitment and even relationships. It's just hookup culture, if even that, at this point. And it's so sad. It's so wrong. It's such a path to destruction. And so I agree. But I think underneath it is not this shallowness. It's not what maybe Gen Z and millennials are made out to be. It's truly fear. It's like we've seen it go so poorly that why would we want to go down that path? And they don't know that there is a possibility to build a really beautiful, healthy, thriving marriage, even though it isn't easy. And there's seasons of struggle and challenge, but you can build that. And so that's really our message, that you're not doomed to repeat the dysfunction that you came from. You can write your own story. You can build, a better life, a better future, a better marriage for yourself. And I know parents want that for their kids as well.
We're going to take a break at this point and hold you over for the final segment. It's restoredministry.com, restoredministry.com. Go to EWTNRC.com and get the book, It's Not Your Fault. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away. Welcome back. We continue our conversation with Joey Pontarelli. He's written a very powerful healing book, It's Not Your Own Fault, a practical guide to navigating the pain and problems from your parents' divorce. Available at EWTNRC.com. Go to restoredministry.com. So Joey, let's deal with some of the resources that you have again, because you just packed on the website and in this book itself. This would be a great help to young people in this age range, to parents that have divorced, to priests, bishops, people working with young people to say, okay, I just want to equip people.
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission is to help teenagers and young adults from divorced or broken families to heal and build virtue so they can break that cycle and ultimately become saints. And our ultimate vision is to not just break the cycle, but to reverse it. Because we believe that if young people from broken families don't heal their trauma and overcome their vices, they're going to repeat that cycle, right? But if we can help them to heal, if we can help them to build virtue, they're going to build healthy relationships, strong marriages, and holy families, and that's going to transform our culture from the broken culture that it is into a Catholic culture where the human person flourishes and souls are saved, and there's nothing more important than that. And so the resources we offer are plentiful, but just to mention a few, and we've prepared a digital bundle for free for your viewers if they'd like it at restoredministry.com/at-home. And on there, they'll find our podcast. It's the #1 podcast for young people who come from broken families. We rank number 18 on the overall divorce topic. We're the only podcast out there for children of divorce, for young people from broken families. So on it, we bring on experts to share advice for how to heal, how to navigate the challenges that come up in broken families. We bring young people on to share their stories as well. And so that's one resource, the podcast. The book, like you mentioned, it features 33 questions and answers on the most pressing challenges that young people from broken families face. I know they can get that in the EWTN catalog. Also, we have free courses that we give away, 2-hour courses. So one is with a Catholic trauma therapist who's been on EWTN before. We partner with her. She teaches a whole course for free on trauma, like what is trauma, how does it affect your body, your brain, your relationships, and what can you do to heal from it. We have another course as well on how do you help someone who comes from a broken family, like you said. If you're a parent, a friend, a pastor, a youth minister, how do you help those young people from broken families? That's all free as well. And then because we're recording this around the holidays, we also have a free guide that we're giving away called 5 Tips to Navigate the Holidays in a Broken Family. Because it's a really painful time of the year for those of us who come from broken families. We're trying to, navigate between who do I spend this holiday with, mom or dad, and all the complications and stress that goes along with that. It's really, really difficult. And so we just have a free guide on that. So again, restoredministry.com/at-home, and those are all free.
Well, and it's such a burden, right? It's kind of like at a time and place in life where it should be celebratory, it should be a good thing. You're a newlywed, you just got married. Now, how are we going to navigate this? My family, your family. But then when there's divorced family, and if one couple has an intact family, but then both people, it's like, where are we going? How many people do we want to see? And by the end of the day, you're just like wiped out. Wow. It's like I have been to 4 different turkey meals. It's like, no. And then just the energy for each and every one. Yeah. And if the parents aren't healed, all that does in the soul of the human being.
We're going to have to conclude our conversation. Thank God we have tomorrow to continue to open this area up, that the light of the Lord could come in and bring healing and restoration, and to bring solid marriages into the future.
Yes.
Go to restoredministry.com. So many great resources there for the parents, for the young people that have been impacted, and all together and this is an important area, we will build a new culture of life and marriage and family, but we got to deal with children of divorce, of separation, and enlightening them to why they're acting the way they are acting, so that they can feel sane and whole and well and establish the relationships that God desires for them. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.